There's just no other mission like it. One, already, it's close proselyting. You can't tell people anything unless they show interest. So you just chat up conversations, and then when they start asking, what are you doing here? You can tell them finally. There's a different people, completely different religious space that you have to adjust to, completely different rules, ever changing, always adapting. It's the first mission established in the Middle East. And thus, it's just a completely different ballgame. You're literally a vanguard to the Middle East, one of the last places in the world that the gospel is not yet penetrated. And it's incredible to be a direct pioneer in the work of the Lord as you see it progress towards its final stages. Because all the easy missions have already been opened. Now it's only the hard ones that remained. And this is definitely one of them. So be excited. One thing that I absolutely love to do when I was serving in Turkey when it comes to culture, it would be asking people about where they're from, their hometowns, and especially what's famous in their hometowns. Because something I saw about Turkey that was interesting is that every single town or region in Turkey has just something that they were famous about, something that they were known for. And by the time I got to the point where I knew every hometown and I knew what each one was famous for because I'd asked so much, it would be really impressive to Turks when I would talk to them. I would ask them, hey, where are you from? They'd say, oh, I'm from Amasya. And then they'd be like, and then I'd say, oh, Amasya, you have apples from there. And they're like, whoa, you know that. Or, I'm from Kırşehir. And I'm like, oh, you have Jebbies and Pekmez over there. And they'd be like, whoa, how do you know this? This foreigner knows our country really well. It's a really good way to show them that you enjoy their culture, you enjoy their country, and you know where they're from. You can't go wrong with any of the kebabs that they have. They have different meat ones or chicken ones. All of them are fantastic. Another one that I always love to get that was like a little lighter but still really good is called lahmacun. It's quote unquote Turkish pizza. It's nothing like the pizza that you know, but it's so good. It's thin, it got little minced meat and little small minced vegetables as well on it. And you just put lime on it and you eat it and it's fantastic. Something that I love that's pretty native to Ankara is the famous soslu döner. There's 3 different businesses you can get it from. There's Sere Döner, Donas, and Dois. That is definitely something you need to get before you leave. But probably most of all is a salty yogurt drink that all foreigners will hate the first time, but come to love as they drink it more, and that is called ayran. I wish I could have that every day. In Turkey, I served in the city of Ankara, the capital, and then the coastal city of Izmir on the Aegean coast. Ankara is very similar to something like Provo, Utah, where it gets nice and hot in the summer and nice and cold in the winter. I remember there being a winter where we moved to the coldest apartment in the mission, and we froze. Izmir, on the other hand, is like a nice tropical city like Miami or something like that, where it never gets cold there. Like the week before I went there or something of the sort, it snowed for the first time in 10 years, a whole 1 centimeter, I think. And there is really interesting. A lot of people use coal to heat themselves up, so there's a lot of coal in the air until it rains, which it often does because it's right by the coast. It gets nice and hot. You need an air conditioner, otherwise you will die in Izmir. Not literally, but you will not be having a fun time. But nevertheless, it's a gorgeous city. Turkey is 99.9% Muslim. They believe in Islam. This being the case, setting aside that Latter-day Saints themselves have a unique vocabulary, there are many even Christian concepts, beliefs, ideas, imagery, words that won't be familiar to them when you're trying to teach them about the gospel of Jesus Christ. The big blessing in all this, though, is that as you're striving to better be able to teach them, it will be a greater responsibility, but also a blessing on your part to learn these things at a deeper level than you did before. It will be required for you to be an effective teacher, but also be a great blessing, because understanding them through and through, you'll be able to teach them more simply, more powerfully, and adjust your teaching to the needs of the people that you will meet, so that they too can also understand, love, and live the gospel of Jesus Christ. As far as packing goes, you don't have to worry too much on what to bring to Turkey. Of course, depending on what climate you're expecting to be in, if you're just traveling, just pack accordingly. If you're serving as a missionary there, Clothing over there is very inexpensive. A suit does not cost very much. The only thing I definitely recommend is something to do with your shoes. Shoes over there are not necessarily expensive either, but you will go through many of them since there is lots and lots of walking. Something helpful that I saw other elders have is they're little wooden things that look like feet that you put inside of your shoes, and since they are wood, they will suck out a lot of the moisture that's left in your shoes that you put throughout the day because your feet are sweating while inside your shoes since you're walking so much. That really helps so that your feet and your shoes don't begin to stink, and it's good to have several pairs of shoes at a time to rotate through because you're doing so much walking. Otherwise, they're not going to smell very well. One day I woke up, went to the bathroom normal, could barely do that, and came back and crashed on the bed. I was very, very sick all of a sudden. And I rested there in the bed, sweating, suffering, and a lot of pain, not even able to sit up, just laid down in pain. And I was that way the whole day, drinking water, trying to get fluids and be healthy. But close to the end of the day came, and I was no better at all. I'd been reading the New Testament lately about Jesus healing people. So I called over my companion and told him, "Give me a blessing." So he did, and I told myself, Jesus healed these people. I have the faith to be healed right now. And 2 hours after the blessing, I stood back up, and I was completely fine. The Lord had healed me. When I was just a wee little greenie in my second transfer, I believe, week 8 or something, I stopped at a bus stop, and there was a guy next to me. Sons of Anarchy bandana, long hair all the way to his waist, leather jacket, beard and everything, so I thought, yeah, let's talk to him. I talked to him and told him, yeah, I'm helping with my church, and he's like, oh, there's a church in Ankara. I'm like, yeah. He's like, can I come? And I said, yeah. Then the bus dropped by, and I'm like, oh, okay, bye. And I left him nothing. But the crazy thing is, he went on the internet, and he went looking for the Mormons, asking if anyone knew them. Someone had the number of the other companionship. He called them up, went out searching, eventually came to church, received a testimony that God lived, and was baptized later. You never know how your smallest, even insignificant efforts, what they will do for people. So in Turkey, they have, as far as crazy foods, usually has something to do with goats and the not very typical parts that you would eat of a goat, wherever you might be from. For example, and just walking by on the side of the streets, you'll see stores where they have just a goat head there, and you can buy the goat head, brain and all, eat the brain, eat the goat head. It's great. A lot of times they'll also make that into a soup. They've got 2 different ones where they use interesting goat parts. There's paça çorbası and there's also işkembe çorbası. Both of them have different pieces of the goat's head or stomach or intestines or brain or anything like that. And those soups are actually wonderful. It really depends for foreigners because it's a hit or miss on whether you'll love it or not. I was one of the ones that loved it. Some of the others, not quite so. July 15th, 2016, the night thereof, me and my companion were doing our nightly planning. My companion was a West Point cadet, and he kept hearing airplanes overhead. And he thought it was weird because they kept circling around, and they weren't supposed to do that according to him. He had training, so he knew. That night, Turkey had an attempted coup d'etat where the military tried to overthrow the government. It did not work, as the president called the citizens to the streets, and they quelled the military, since the military was after the government leaders, not the citizens. That night, every single person in the city of Ankara, Turkey, the capital, was awake, except for me. I slept right through it. I woke up in the morning, see 2 texts, one from the president of Turkey calling us to the streets, the other from our mission president telling us not to go outside because there was just a coup. I look at my companion and think, do you see this? And he said, yeah, you didn't hear all night? And I just think, oh, nope. It is always my privilege to bear my witness that the Lord Jesus Christ does live. There is no thing that I know more clearly than of His divinity and the truthfulness of His gospel. I have been blessed in my life above all because of that. He has changed me, where I've become a very different person than I was 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 1 year ago. And he continues to do that day by day. He has guided me to every good opportunity in my life. And in the end, I can always exclaim that the Lord of all the earth has done it right. And that if we trust in him, things are going to work out.